Hi everyone, welcome to the Timeform and Sporting Life weekend racing preview. There's lots going on all over the place. Classic action over in Ireland at the Curragh, the 2,000 and 1,000 guineas over there. And we've got Goodwood, Haydock, York in England. But we're going to be focusing on Haydock. A couple of Group 2s to go through. I'm Ben Linfoot and I'm in the company of Matt Brocklebank from Sporting Life and Andy McLaren from Timeform to discuss the action. Lots going on, Matt, but we're focusing on Haydock. A couple of really good Group 2s in their own right, and they could be pointers towards races at Royal Ascot and further ahead later in the season. Yeah,
without a doubt. Obviously, we've got the 3-year-old race to Sandy Lane, which has a good bearing generally on the Commonwealth Cup. And then obviously the Temple Stakes itself with a bit of international flavour as well. Asfoora, I was hearing from her trainer, Henry Dwyer, in the week. High hopes for her throughout the season as well. A busy summer schedule in Europe for her. So yeah, loads to get stuck into. Living the Dream is probably the standout horse as well. The Nunthorpe winner from last year. Great to see him back in action.
Let's start with him and the Betfred Temple Stakes, the Group 2 over 5 furlongs at 150. A really good race. The Timeform ratings will help us sort things out here, and we'll see that Live in the Dream is top of the shop, Andy, on 130. And on those, he's the one to beat, isn't he?
Yeah, he comes out. That rating there is obviously based on what he did in the Nunthorpe last year. That was very much a career best from him. He hasn't got within £6 of that performance yet in any of his other starts, and that was obviously a set of circumstances that really allowed him to show his raw speed that he's got. It was fast ground and a fast track like York. Not conditions he's going to get on Saturday. They've had a lot of rain at Haydock, so you've got a question as whether on soft ground at Haydock, whether that's really going to suit a horse who's got his sort of speed. He has got form on soft ground, but like I say, he's yet to match that performance on the Timeform ratings. As what he did in the Nunthorpe. The Aussie mare comes in second best. Another one who you might have a bit of question marks over the ground. She has got form on soft ground in Australia, but I think soft ground in Australia is a bit different to soft ground at Haydock. And next in is Rogue Lightning, who, again, I would have question marks over the ground. This is a horse who really improved last year for a gelding operation, but all of his performances came on good to firm ground. He was a real eye catcher in the Abai. But he's another one who I would have question marks over the ground. So with the Timeform ratings, these are what we say the horse is capable of running to under their optimum conditions. And I would question the horses at the top of the ratings on Saturday whether they're going to have their optimum conditions at Haydock.
It sounds like we need a few video clues to help us out then. And we'll look at the Nunthorpe. We'll look at Living the Dream at his best, showing that raw pace. Just pick him out here, Matt. And this was...
outside, pink, white blaze.
An excellent performance this day. A career's best. And raw speed, that's what you want in the Nunthorpe, and that's what he showed this day.
It was, for me, this was probably one of the standout moments of the whole flat season. It was a brilliant story, this, obviously, with Adam West, the trainer. Just being able to compete at the top level with a horse like this was sensational. And he put up a sensational performance on the day, blazing away, as Andy says there on the fast ground, and speed really does carry at York, as we've seen time and time again. Form was absolutely brilliant. Highfield Princess, obviously a standout. The much missed Highfield Princess, a real standout sprinter last year and the year before that as well. She was in second. We had the King's Stand winner there. Bradsell was in third. It was a brilliant piece of form. Makarova as well. One or two others. Equality, I think, a bit further back. Get Ahead. Yeah, really strong Nunthorpe. Good form that worked out well subsequently. Living the Dream went and maybe not quite matched that level, but acquitted himself well on his next couple of starts, including in America. But you know, if you were able to replicate that track and that performance, then he's without question the horse to beat. What I would say is that connections are on record stating that the whole season gears around that race again, and you wouldn't be surprised, would you? That's very obvious target. Is he going to be the sort of horse that they have real sort of screws tight first time back on soft ground? You'd have questions about that. So I can see why he's a little bit uneasy at the top of the betting market anyway.
Yeah, I think that's the key point with him, isn't it? I think connections saying sort of possibly 85% fit, and with that in mind, it might be a race where we take him on.
Surely.
So, Matt, tell me about this Asfoora. You were on a Zoom call with Henry Dwyer the other day, the Aussie trainer, and it sounds like they've got a plan mapped out for her throughout the whole season in Europe.
Yeah, he's had to deal with a few... he says, basically, he was laughed at back home in Australia when they said that this horse, who he openly admits is probably somewhere in the top 10 of sprinters in Australia at the moment, you know, coming over for a crack at a Group 1 at Royal Ascot. That's the target, obviously. A big summer campaign for her. So he does seem to think that she's in the sort of top 3 or 4 5 furlong sprinters in Australia, which over the years you would imagine that would correlate pretty well. She's comes out in terms of, as Andy's mentioned there, in terms of the international sort of Timeform rankings and ratings. She fares very well. She is flighty though, apparently. She's got a real mood on her. They've enlisted the assistance from Craig Witherford, the stalls handler, the stalls expert, you know, the horse whisperer, to help out on the day. So she's they've kind of left no stone unturned. She's been kind of before they brought her over here, they were kind of changing her daylight hours and stuff, and they had this mask on her to help with her daylight and everything, and just in terms of helping her settle into her new environment, she's been staying down near Amy Murphy's yard in Newmarket. So you've got to have some sort of respect for her, but as Andy says, soft ground at Haydock is going to be a real sort of culture shock to her, and if she's a bit keen early on, I could see her struggling to see it out.
She's probably a bit of a watching brief, isn't she? I mean, the bookies are taking no chances really with her.
That's the thing,
with an Australian sprinter, and back home, she's not from 6 or 7, isn't she, in Group 1 company? So we know that she's not quite at the best, like her trainer says over there. But a dead interesting sprinter going forward into the summer. Andy, let's have a look at the pace map, because we think Living the Dream will be playing Catch Me If You Can. But how do you think this might play out?
Yeah, Living the Dream, very much the key horse in this race, not just the form setter, but if this is a prep run for him, if he is only 85% fit, you'd imagine he's going to be the one blazing out in front, and he could just set the race up for something else to come and get him later on. So he's going to blast away from stall 3, as he always does. Beautiful Diamond, you'd imagine she won't be far away either. So I can see this being running at quite a good clip for what is going to be testing ground. So I do think this could be set up for something that's going to finish off the pace.
I think we need a final video clue. So let's have a look at the Palace House Stakes, because 4 of them from this race go here. 7 questions. The winner in the red silks, Verdream, Beautiful Diamond and Kurdos as well. Andy, just talk us through 7 questions in Verdream, the two who finished 1-2 in this.
Yeah, very much a key piece of form this. You've got T-Spirit blasting off in front. If you just look in the second wave there, you've got Beautiful Diamond, Verdream, and 7 questions, all reopposing here. Kurdros just in behind them. He's just starting to come off the bridle a bit there. He finishes off well. It's 7 questions who goes on to win. It was a good run from him, a 3-year-old taking on his elders, but it was a significant step forward for him in the first time cheap pieces. And when
placed here as well, wasn't he? Don't you think, Andy?
Yeah, he probably was. Yeah, just set off the pace. But I always question when a horse steps forward as much as he has in first time headgear. I always want to see them come out and do it again and back that up. So and he's another one who I'd have question marks over the ground. Beautiful Diamond, a really nice run from her as well, taking on her elders. But the one to take out of this for me was Verdream, who finished right in the middle there in the heap. That was on good ground, and we know she's a filly who really relishes testing conditions, which she gets on Saturday. So from that race, going into this race on Saturday with conditions how they are, it'd be Verdream the one to take out of it for me.
Yeah, she'll love the soft at Haydock. Matt, there was 2 others in there, Beautiful Diamond and Kurdos. What did you think about those?
Well, I've got a bit of an issue with that race in that I could go through, as Andy sort of has quite eloquently, you could go through and make a fairly positive case for all of them, which for me, they can't all be proper Group 2 horses and Group 1 potential. So I would have a real question mark over the whole form. There just isn't one of them that I don't think I could make a real rock solid case for. I thought Beautiful Diamond maybe at a push could be the one, but Carl Burke's horses have been so fit, haven't they, this spring, so ready for the first time back that I don't expect her to improve a huge amount on the back of that. Maybe the one to take from that race was Mick Bahi, who runs in the Curragh at the weekend anyway. But
we'll come back to him later.
Yeah, maybe. But no, I'd be against all of them as well.
What about Kurdos, Scoop? You like him for Ascot?
I do like Kurdos. I've backed him for the King Charles III Stakes, formerly the King's Stand at Royal Ascot. And I thought that was a really good run. You saw him come under pressure early and finish well. He was a bit short of room as well, but I do think the soft ground is probably against him at Haydock, and he's a bit of a watching brief for me, but I do hope he runs well ahead of Ascot. Right then, let's wrap up the Temple Stakes. Have we got a selection, Matt?
It's a bit unlike me, this Scoop, but I've got a really strong opinion on the Temple Stakes, a group race.
Fire away.
We've not seen a video of him, but I think Rogue Lightning is one of the most exciting sprinters going into this season. We've highlighted why Living the Dream might not quite be 100%. Now this horse, Tom Clover, has his horses in really, really good form this spring. Now Connections have spent £1 million pounds, guineas, pounds, £1,000,000 on this horse. Now that for me, obviously as a punter,
Wathnan Racing, isn't it?
Yeah, Wathnan Racing have invested in this horse. Now that obviously the price tag is beside the point when you come into it as a punter. But this horse is 5-1 as we speak. I'd have him much shorter than that. I thought he finished last season, as Andy said, after the gelding operation, it just completely transformed him. He went from winning a handicap of 94 to rocketing through the ranks. And if we'd had a replay of the Abbey, I genuinely think he should have won that Abbey.
He was unlucky that day, wasn't he?
Really unlucky. And it happens, doesn't it, in that race, on that track. Yeah. But no wonder they've got really high hopes for him. He's a big price, I suspect, for the 5 furlong, the Group 1, the King Charles III at Royal Ascot. I really do think he's the horse to beat here. Question marks over Asfura, the Aussie. That form from the Palace House Stakes looks a bit questionable. It's solid, but it's questionable in terms of this race. I think 5-1 is a really, really good price if we can get it. I wouldn't be laying him at much bigger than 3s.
Rogue Lightning for Matt. Andy, what do you say?
The dream for me. I just think the conditions have really came into her favour, and I thought she ran a great race last time at Newmarket on ground, which was probably on the fast side for her.
Okay, that's the Temple Stakes, the feature at Haydock on Saturday, done and dusted. But we're going to have a quick look at the Betfred Sports Jackberry House Sandy Lane Stakes as well, over 6 furlongs at 2.25, because we have got the return of Van Dijk. And looking at the Timeform ratings, Andy, he is going to be top of the shop after an unbeaten and fruitful juvenile campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. Really exciting to see him back in action. He was the highest rated 2-year-old in Britain last year. When you take into account the Irish as well, there was only City of Troy and Henry Longfellow who ended the season with a higher rating than him. So it just shows the calibre of horse we're dealing with here. Always that question mark in the back of your mind when you've had such a good 2-year-old, such a fast 2-year-old as he was. It's that question of have the trained on. But I've seen nothing from Van Dijk to suggest he wouldn't. He's a big, strong colt. You'd expect him to train on into his 3-year-old career. We've seen Big Evs last year, another leading sprinter from the 2-year-old division last year, come out and prove he can do it as a 3-year-old. So really looking forward to seeing him come out. He's not a betting proposition at his price, but just hope he can come up and put a big performance up and set himself up for a tilt at the Commonwealth Cup.
He was tremendous at 2. Let's have a look at him, because you won't get bored of watching this middle part, because it was a startling turn of foot, really, to go from last to first. Here we are, Matt. What did you think of this?
Yeah, well, again, as he had been in 1 or 2 starts prior, he was quite slowly from the stalls, which, as a 2-year-old sprinter, you'd think it would be quite a significant negative, but he travels so powerfully through the race, showed a bit of keenness there. So again, to do it so easily in and out of the dip at Newmarket and come there on the bridle, I thought it was a fantastic performance, really was sensational. And he went into winter as alongside or just behind, I'd say, City of Troy as one of the most exciting 3-year-old prospects. And here we are, we have him making his debut this weekend. So really exciting. I don't think he's not got a huge heap to beat, has he, in terms of what we've seen so far. I know that we've got a couple of horses that are in good form and showed a bit. Obviously the horse, the 2,000 guineas, is represented by Inisherin, who was 6 and shaped pretty well, but you wouldn't have said that he tanked through the race and looked to be screaming for a drop to sprinting. So it's an interesting one. He is odds on, isn't it? And you've got to try and start picking for issues around a horse like him if you're looking to take him on. Now, the only thing that I could really point to is that while Simon and Ed Crisford had really quite a good start to the spring, just in recent weeks, and I saw on Thursday night when that chess piece, I quite fancied him to run well, and he suddenly sort of stopped to nothing, dropped off the back of the TV. It was setting a few alarm bells with me, and you go back just through the last 2 or 3 weeks, they've had 3 or 4 runners now, quite well fancied, finishing well beaten. Now that, it could be very much beside the point, but I think as a punter, you kind of have to look at that and think whether it might be an issue with the yard. But I think, a horse like this, they're going to have him as ready as possible. And I'm personally struggling to take him on. I know you're sort of tempted, aren't you? I don't know if there's enough to go at, isn't there, in opposition? That's the question.
Yeah, I am tempted, just because you never know. You never know if they've trained on. And he's so short. I think looking at that middle pack, he was so good on fast ground. I know he won in France on
and
softer
he beat
ground.
Ramatouille, didn't he? Who's obviously looked very good in the 1,000 guineas.
Goodwood was on soft ground as well.
I'm quite happy to have a go against him. I must admit.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned City of Troy, and look, it doesn't always translate, does it? And
No, absolutely. I mean, Van Dijk, back in the day, this horse might have been stretched out and might have tried to win a 2,000 guineas with him. But now with the 3-year-old sprint programme, as it is with this race, the Sandy Lane and the Commonwealth Cup, we're seeing more and more horses just go straight down the sprint route, aren't we? And he's a big part of that. And, we'll see. He could be an outstanding 3-year-old, and we could be looking at a Royal Ascot winner here, but it's a big day for him. Let's have a look at Inisherin, because he ran in the 2,000 guineas at Newmarket. They're in the white cap for Shaker Bade, and you say it didn't really scream dropping to sprinting trips, but what did you think, Andy? It wasn't a bad performance. I mean, he's a very lightly raced horse.
That was a very good performance for a horse with so little experience as what he had. I'm in the same camp as Matt. What happens every year, doesn't it, with the Guineas, where you come out of it thinking this horse needs to step up in trip, this horse needs to go back to 6 furlongs. He wasn't one who screamed to me back to 6 furlongs, Commonwealth Cup horse. I thought his inexperience started to kick in here. He seemed to get lost in the dip a bit, but he's not stopping at the end. He's actually picking up a bit at the end. All his career starts have been at a mile. I'm surprised to see him coming back to 6 furlongs. I suppose the testing ground at Haydock will bring his extra stamina into play, but like I say, he's not one who screamed sprinter to me.
He's staying on alongside Ghostwriter, who everyone sort of said needs 10 furlongs, so...
Yeah, it's probably a fact-finding mission, perhaps, with Kevin Ryan and this horse. Okay, let's have a look at the pace, Matt, then. Final clue to see how this Sandy Lane might all pan out. Matt, where's the pace here? We've got Arne for the Gosdens. We've got Inisherin, who's probably going to be up there dropping in trip, you would say.
Yeah, decent pace again, isn't there? On hopefully, anyway, we don't get sort of falsely run races. But Esquire was another one I thought might be a little bit further forward than Timeform Hinton here on this pace map. He was a good winner in the end of the Greenham at Newbury. That was over 7 furlongs, so he appreciated the step up in trip. So you'd imagine they'll try and sort of turn this into a bit more of a test. Now you look back through Greenham winners, and they tend to be really quality horses, don't they? And he won it by a small margin, but he won it by a clear margin, should we say? But I just don't think it was quite up to scratch as a Greenham, was it? So he'll go forward. Inisherin's got to go forward, hasn't he? As we said, drop him from a mile. But yeah, I'm sort of slightly fearful that Van Dijk's going to travel all over them and put them to bed later on. So yeah, I'm not going to take him on, as I've made quite clear. But I don't think we're going to get a falsely run race.
Have you got a selection in the race, Andy, or are you just going to watch Van Dijk?
It's not necessarily taken on Van Dijk, but like you said, there are them question marks over him. Has he trained on? Will he go on the ground? So you're getting the 3 places on offer. I think it is worth a crack at having something each way. There's another horse dropping in trip we haven't mentioned, similar to Inisherin. You said On Air there. I thought it was On, but we'll go On Air.
On. My pronunciations are traditionally terrible.
We'll go On Air. He's trained by the Gosdens. He ran in a classic last time. He ran the French Guineas over a mile. He's a 7 furlong winner on heavy ground as a 2-year-old. I just think of the two, out of him and Inisherin's form's obviously a lot stronger from the Newmarket Guineas, but I think this is one horse who I think might actually appreciate this dropping back to 6 furlongs. He made the running in that good race at Chelmsford. I think it was the Kentucky Derby trial, where it was won by Bracken's Laugh and Capulet, who both boosted the form at Chester. And on testing ground at Haydock, I think a positive ride. He's one who I think, but he's about 25 to 1. I think I could see him sneaking into the 3, and who knows, he could even capitalise if Van Dijk doesn't show up.
Okay, interesting. Can't wait to see Van Dijk on Saturday and see what he can do at 3 years old. Right then, gents, we're going to finish with a 30-second blast from you each on your best bet from elsewhere this weekend. Matt, you can go first.
Yeah, I'll go into the Silver Bowl handicap. That's at Haydock, the 115, and with Sir Ulian Bay.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the David O'Mara horse.
Yeah, I like him as well.
We all like him.
Yeah.
You could have told me before this. You could have actually given me some details, because all I've got is that he's an eye-catching run last time. No, he was quite good last year, wasn't he? He won his first 2 starts, then they chucked him into the deep end in the Solario. But yeah, I thought the 2 runs this season look like they've just been sort of tightening him up for a nice prize like this weekend's prize, and he's gone up a couple of pounds for that last run at Haydock, but he didn't get much of a run, and I thought it was a really eye-catching run. So
interesting.
For me.
Booked Richard Kingscote with Danny Tudhope at Haydock.
He's good at Haydock, isn't he?
He's good at Haydock, isn't he? Yeah. Andy, bet of the day?
Yeah, we saw mine running earlier on the VT from Newmarket. I like Mick Bahi at the Curragh, taking on Art Power, and on pretty much his home ground. He obviously has to travel over there, but he's 4 from 4 at the track. But yeah, I like this Mick Bar. He's really unexposed at 6 furlongs. He was mainly campaigned over 5 when he was with Roger Varian. First start for Charlie Hills this season at Newmarket. It was over 6 furlongs at the Craven meeting where everything was just winning from the front. There was nothing coming from the back. He was a really real eye catcher to finish 4th, coming from off the pace. And in that race we watched earlier, it was dropping back to 5 furlongs again. A trip which I think is just on the short side for him, but he was finishing his race off really well. Really interested in him going up to 6 furlongs again. The forecast a bit of rain at the Curragh, which I think he'll like as well. He's won on heavy ground over 6 furlongs at Chester, and I really like his draw. He's drawn right in between Art Power and Matilda Picot, who are going to bounce out and make the run in. So I think under a typically patient ride from Jamie Spencer, he's about 14 to 1. I like him to win the race as well, but I think he'll struggle to keep him out the frame.
Mick Bahi each way. I like it. Thank you, gents. Enjoyed that. Enjoy Haydock and the Curragh and York and Goodwood and everything else this weekend, and we'll be back next week to preview Epsom.